Find the derivative of y equals x times e to the negative x times secant of x. All right, so we're finding the derivative. We see a trig function here. We see an exponential function. Now, the issue here is there's actually three parts to this, right? So there's no, unfortunately, right, there's no product rule for like three functions, right? So for example, if we have like u times v times w, right, there's no like three-part product rule that we can do, okay? There's a product rule though for two functions, right? So for example, if y is equal to u times v, then we know that y prime is going to be u prime v plus v prime of u, right? So what we can do here is we can call this just a u function, right? So we'll call this u and we'll call this guy here v, okay? So I'm not saying we're cheating here, right? But this function u is composed of two functions itself, okay? But if you look at this, wait a minute, right? We need to determine what u prime is. So we're going to have to actually use the product rule twice, essentially, right? Okay. So let's say u now is a function is f times g, right? So then, we'll call f is equal to just the x function, right? G is equal to e to the negative x function. So then u prime would be f prime g plus g prime of f. Okay. So u prime would equal the derivative of x, which is just 1, times e to the negative x, and then plus the derivative of e to the negative x, which is negative e to the negative x times f, right? So negative x e to the negative x, right? So this is u prime, okay? And then we have the u and the v prime, right? So v prime, okay, v is going to equal secant of x. V prime, the derivative of secant is secant of x, tangent of x. So we have v and v prime. We have u and u prime here as well. All right, let me just write that one again, right? So u is x e to negative x, and u prime, we just found that up here, right? E to negative x minus x e to negative x. Okay, I hope this is not too confusing for you. Okay, but once again, the issue is there's three functions here that are going to be multiplied together. So we're just going to let two of them, right? The product of two of them equals just u. So then we have to use the product rule twice, essentially, right? So let's just go ahead then, right? Y prime then should equal, right, u prime v plus v prime of u. And we've already done these, right? So what is u prime? U prime is right here, okay, times v, times the secant of x. So we're going to have e to negative x minus x times e to negative x times secant of x plus v prime, right, which is just secant of x tan of x times u, just u by itself, right? So x e to negative x. All right, so it looks a little bit messy, I guess we'll call it. Okay, but there's a couple things we can actually do here, right? So, I mean, if we distribute this through, right, this is going to be secant of x e to negative x minus x times secant of x times e to negative x plus secant of x tangent of x times x, I'll just put that in front, times e to negative x, right? All right, looks like a handful, but we notice that they each have a secant term and they each have an e to negative x term. So let's factor that out, right? So we get secant of x, I'll put e to negative x first, right? E to negative x times secant of x, and what is left? When we factor that, we get a 1 minus x, and here we get what? Plus x tangent of x. And this is going to be the first derivative.